Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a Rivarossi steam locomotive from Hornby Hobbies. But Rivarossi, as its own line, has produced some really epic stuff. And this is a new 2024 release of the Allegheny, which is a 2666 steam locomotive. As you can see how massive this is. It's equipped with ESU LokSound version 5. And it, from what I've seen on other YouTube videos, is the most detailed Allegheny available. But as you know, with my reviews, we'll go over all the statistics, all of the things that can't really be talked up or talked down just by going over the facts, like weight and pull tests and such. And we'll see what you get in the box and let you decide if this is the locomotive for you. But I'll tell you one thing, first impressions often matter, and this box is really, really nice. You've got the Allegheny on the front and back. It's a really nice presentation to start, but let's see what's in the box and all of the review statistics starting right now. Alright, little scene corner of the layout. Needed a big flat area to get this unboxed. There's the lid off. Inside we have hard foam. Pretty thick hard foam actually. And the locomotive. Now there's a whole other cab in here for 1601, and there's also some other accessory parts. The light is probably doing a number on this locomotive right now, but there's a set of drive wheels in here. It looks like sanding lines, grab irons, and other accessories, traction tires. It's a bag of miscellaneous parts, just to name a few. So the locomotive is going to pop out as one piece. So I'll try to do that here. Slide it down this way. And then in the back, there are a number of documents tucked in back here. So we'll go over that. Set the hard plastic out of the way. Hard foam, I mean. Alright, so got an exploded parts diagram listing all the parts. That way if you need anything you can contact them. People ask me to remove the shell. Really don't have time in my reviews to do so, but there's an illustration of what the shell looks like taken off, along with more parts listed. There's also a little Rivarossi service sheet. So in multiple different languages there. You can pause if you want to read that. Another Rivarossi exploded parts diagram for the tender. So that's what that looks like. And last but not least, we have a function listing here of 25 functions. And if you flip it over, it's got configuration variables listed there. So there you have that. Now on the function listing, factory presets 3, obviously. It's got ESU LokSound's latest V.5 decoder, and it lists the functions in both English and other languages. So there is your manual, but let's get to the star of the show, the locomotive. So we slide, just like most stuff in the hobby. Got a plastic clear sleeve there, and that has a clamp, and you have some soft plastic protecting the locomotive's paint job from the hard plastic. And out that comes just like that. And the same with the tender. The only difference is it's all in one plastic sleeve here. So just gotta reach inside, get the tender out. Pop that open. Out comes the tender. And we are in business. We're on an even different part of the layout right now. You guys are getting a kind of look around here, because where we usually do these reviews, this locomotive's too long and I've got too much stuff out that I need to put away as I'm building this very, very long well car train. But here's the locomotive. We're going to zoom in to look at the detail starting on the front here. Going to have a slight top-down view, but as you can see, you've got the bell up front. You've got this front gear in front of the smoke box and a very narrow, a little hard to see the rivet or the little latch detail, but a very narrow smoke box door, so they have access to that. In between all this gear and a walkway for access to that. So you know, 1601's on the front of this locomotive. This plate is specific, I believe, to the museum, but so I don't think they actually ran with that plate like that, but I could be wrong on that. There's also the headlight, the walkway on the front, crew access ladders, which are really finely detailed. Obviously, the cow catcher or pilot, whatever you want to call it, with coupler cut bar. And you can even see the coupler cut bar, maybe if I can get it moving up and down. So a sea of black here, and that doesn't always get along with my camera, but I am in a very, very bright part of my layout. And obviously that side profile may help as well. You've got like a slot coupler up front that can be changed out. So that's not an actual knuckle coupler up front. On the side, you can see where the number boards are, the classification lights, smokestack, whistle, and all of this side gear is separately applied. Now that's different than the MTH versions, which are all die cast as far as built in. So this is more detailed than the MTH version of the Allegheny in HO scale. Wanted to reset the camera to where it's a little less angled so you can see side profile better on this. But you've got all your side rod detail, the drivers, you got the white walled wheels essentially, and your boiler and sand domes, along with all of that separately applied detail we were just talking about. And there's also safety valves towards the rear here. We'll show you a top profile of that where you can see those better. Obviously your walkway all the way back has a white running board, a white sill on the running board. As you get back to the firebox, you can see the firebox rivet detail is molded in, and the ash pan here has a nice sill that runs all the way along the firebox, which is appropriate because what they do is they have a shaker, they shake all that ash loose, and that ash pan catches it, and then they can empty the ash pan. You've got your 3 trailing trucks here below the cab, dynamo up here as well. And as we look towards the back, you can see your boiler backhead detail with the butterfly doors. I'll try to give you a better view of that with some light. So there you can see a better boiler backhead detail there with some gauges and, like I said, the butterfly doors and such. I'll turn that a little further and you can see the rest of the details in there. You even have detail located back here at the bottom. Try to get that shown a little better. Like where your stoker connects and everything to the locomotive. That detail is represented as well, so they've gone as far as to provide details even in areas that you won't see it because it's connected close coupler to the tender with this drawbar here, which is just a little drawbar with a C-clamp essentially. I'll show you the side view of that. So that's the drawbar, and then you've got your wire connection, which this side of the wire connection is going to be the female end, and the male end is on the actual tender. So we'll swing around here, show you the other side of this. There's a lot of blowdown and other plumbing going along the side of the firebox here, and a lot of stuff we've already mentioned, and a lot of stuff I don't know what it is, so I don't mention. Like, if you know what these tanks are here, you're free to chime in. I'm always trying to learn something new. So they've got these long tanks on both sides. You'll get a better view of that from the top. And more of the other items we've mentioned. Now there's a builder's plate here on the side. I believe that's what that is. It is legible from what I can see. I can read Lima, but I know if I zoom in too far, you're not going to be able to see it at all. It'll go blurry past infinity focus, but it gives you a really close, detailed look at this model. So all of this boiler area is plastic, I believe, or metal. It's got a metal frame. I think the actual boiler is plastic. So that is allowing for some other detailed parts to be added, I think, that aren't molded in this case. So you can see like all this side detail here, and even the throttle lever is zigzagging down here to the side. So there is a good look at the locomotive in all of its glory. So you may be asking yourself, why are there two cabs in the box? And I've looked closely at these cabs, and the difference is one has a longer back sill than the other. So as you can see there's a dead-on kind of side-by-side comparison. The other one has a longer back sill, longer cab roof, whatever you want to call it. And so there must be a variation in the Allegheny that they've provided you a difference with to go ahead and add. Promised you a top-down view, so here we have it. These are the two tanks I was talking about. If anybody knows what those are for, let me know. It looks like it may be superheating steam or just another steam bypass of some sort for more capacity. I'm not sure. There's your dome area there with the boiler and sand domes. Up front is your whistle, which has a nice metal appearance, and your smokestack. This is not equipped with puffing smoke, for those that were curious about that. And then you've got conduit and stuff running up to the top there. One thing I mentioned earlier I would show you back here is the safety pop-off valves. There's 4 in this little jacketing here, so it's not really seen from the side, but it is seen from the top. And you got your dynamo and some other things that we have pointed out. Your cab roof vents, which are fixed on this one. I believe they're also fixed on the other one. Let me check. The other one actually moves, so this one could just be stuck. Yep, it's just a little harder to move, so it's not fixed. It actually slides no problem. I try not to push my luck with some of these delicate models, but that is not a fixed cab roof. You can move it. Last but not least is the tender. It's obviously going to hook up to the locomotive through this front area here in the male connections with these pins. You've got your stoker having that sea of black problem where it's a little hard to see, but there's a stoker area there where that would be kind of theoretically connected. You've got your coal load, and you've got your drawbar where we're connecting that clamp to. Also, let me see that real quick, because yeah, I guess that just clamps on there. Just trying to get a look at that. Alright, so at the side you can see the doors for the tender where you can access the coal load if you needed to manually shovel some in. CNO logo on the side, Chesapeake and Ohio on the side. If I tilt it this way, you can see the molded in rivet detail stand out a little better as the light catches that. You can also see the tender trucks, which is a 3-truck or 3-wheel set and 4-wheel set configuration. So 3 in the front, 4 in the rear. If we tilt this way, you can see the water hatches and more rivet detail along the top and the coal load. So coal load is not shiny, it has kind of a matte finish to it, so that's good. On the rear, you've got, I think, a dummy light up here. That's what that's representing. It looks like it is. And this should be an operational light back here, along with crew access ladder, and again a coupler cut lever, and then you actually have a knuckle coupler installed back here with magnetic glide hand. So that is going to be able to pull your consists. And then we'll take a little peek below. There's the speaker holes for the sound. So earlier we talked about that bag of parts, and I had some time off camera to take a look and see what's in the bag of parts, and there's quite a few things. And I noticed that, for example, this locomotive didn't have the tread plate installed. So I was looking in the bag of parts, and sure enough, there's the tread plate for the walkway between the tender and the locomotive. And I'm looking through the bag of parts, and I see chains, I see separately applied details, I see grab irons that would be installed. And so I think what Rivarossi's philosophy was with that was anything that's super delicate that can be kind of like a modeler option, they put in the bag of parts. So let's fire up our new, more visible scale so you can see the actual weight as I'm doing this. Locomotive is 646 grams, 1 pound, 6.8 ounces before we even add the tender. It's almost 1.5 pounds, so definitely not light by any means, or almost 23 ounces here. We add the tender, and you end up at 28.7 ounces, or 814 grams, or 1 pound, 12.7 ounces. So it's just slightly above 1 3/4 pounds. So there you have it. That would be what? 7 quarter-pounders from McDonald's. Very quickly, I wanted to point out that this little drawbar pin actually sets in the clamp. You don't want to try to clamp it. You just want to set it in there, and then it has plenty of pull and power to pull consists, as I'm essentially doing this towards the end of the review. Also, the throttle lever, which should be pretty straight, has a curve to it. It looks like either when I was messing with the cab or maybe just right out of the box, I have to feed that into a hole there, so that'll straighten out the throttle lever on the locomotive. Well, this thing is just absolutely gorgeous. A gorgeous locomotive, and it's so, long basically. It's a very long locomotive, probably just as long as the big boy, or pretty close. Alleghenies were very powerful locomotives. As you can see, I've got it fired up here. There is no startup sound listed in the functions. It's just essentially steam sounds. I believe they have it listed at under F8. It says drive sounds, so I just went ahead and turned it on off camera 0 though is tied to the dynamo sound. You hear that high kind of whine. If I turn the headlight off, the dynamo turns off. So you hear that, and that is actually how dynamos work. They generate steam. Steam turns in this little turbine and it powers electrical appliances on the locomotive, including the headlight. So very realistic sounds out of LokSound. I've always been very pleased with LokSound's sound quality. But I'll go ahead and go through some sounds here. We'll leave the headlight off for now. Here's F1, which is the bell. 2 is listed as air horn. Pretty much the whistle, I believe. So as you can see, it has a little bit of quill to it at the beginning. That's just with the press of F2. Even the short ones will do that. So F3 is coupler sounds. F4 is coast mode. I believe that's more of like leaving it in the same essentially throttle position as you're moving along, so we'll skip over that. F5 is sound fader. That's not F5, that was just a blowdown valve or pop-off valve going off randomly. F6 is, you can disable the brake squeal sound. Now the brake squeal sound didn't do it that time, might have to be moving faster, but we'll go back on that. 7 shunting mode, 8 is the drive sounds we talked about, 9's heavy load mode, 10's independent brake. 11's coal shoveling, we'll hit that one. We're going to go ahead and move backwards here. I'll show you the dimmer by turning the headlight back on. Dimmer's on 12. Headlight's very realistic, by the way. They just nailed the overall look of those headlights. The incandescent bulb, but probably LED. Definitely LED. Just really nice. 13 is curved squeal, which I think again we'll have to get that moving to do some of those moving sounds. 14's air pump variable speed. 15 slow spitter valve. 16's injector. Gonna hit 16 real quick. '17 is apply train brake and brake release. 18's dumping ash, we'll hit that one. That was the sound I was talking about when I went over the ash pan, where they're shaking all that ash from the firebox down into the ash pan. So that's dumping ash on F18. F19's blowdown, which they have to do pretty frequently. So blowdown kind of removes some of the gunk out of the boiler from what I understand. 20 safety valve. And like I said, some of those will automatically cycle through when the locomotive's running. 21 sanding valve. 22 is dumping. Some of those automatic sounds were going off. Here's 22. Now, if you don't like the dynamo, you can turn that off on F23 when it's not running with the headlight. F24 is Stoker. So that's going to be a little more accurate for this one, as they don't have to manually run coal than the coal shoveling. So there you have the sounds. Also 25 is water refill. I forgot about that one. And you press it until you want it done, and then you press it again, at least on the NCE. You hear the hatch open, water goes in. It may time out after a certain amount of time, but if not, you can stop it by hitting F25 again. Hear the wheel flange sound as this moves along here. But, looky here. There's your brake squeal sound as well that we weren't able to cover while moving. So you hear the wheel flange sound and the brake squeal sound. But right through here, see that? Just to the right of the edge of the tender, you have Firebox flicker going on and a peak between the butterfly doors. We're looking from this angle of the locomotive. Here is your rear tender light. Is the only light that's functioning. That other one, if that is supposed to be a light, it's non-functioning right aft of the coal load. Alright, we got the pull test ready to go here. It's all hooked up. I see peaking in the 5s, mid-5s at best. So you're talking about 80 cars, probably 80 freight cars of HO scale varieties. Like, that would be kind of like 80 box cars. So now we're going to run this through the AccuTrack speedometer. I want you to listen to the chuffing sound. I want you to see the smoothness of the drive at one speed step. Then obviously you'll be able to see what one speed step is showing on the scale miles per hour. I'm going to turn this on camera, which I never do. See how it shows HO and 87.1 and it's set to miles per hour. It's showing that bar there. That's showing that it's miles per hour. I know this status light down here at the bottom shows a blinking under kilometers per hour, but that is miles per hour. That's just a status light blinking. It goes solid once it starts reading the speed. One cool thing about this ESU decoder is when you get this locomotive moving, those cylinder cocks make the noise letting out steam, which is really what happens when a steam locomotive starts moving. So that does that automatically. I think that's pretty cool. Turn this way slightly to show you the smooth speed step at 1. Pretty smooth. I'm not seeing any lag, any jerking, just kind of steady. You should be getting a reading pretty soon as you see that light has turned solid. And it's just waiting on the other side of the calculation to do its math. So 1 scale mile an hour one speed step, I should say, on the NCE Pro Cab is 0.7 scale miles per hour. So very, very slow speed control, yet they have really nailed how smooth that drive is at one speed step. So we'll go ahead and pick it up here. There's 2 speed steps, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're up to 10. You hear that brake speed, brake squeal, and even the reverser, I believe. We'll go down to a stop. We'll go up to 1 speed step in reverse, because sometimes drive mechanisms are day and night in between forward and reverse. But it looks like very smooth again. The best way to tell is to look at those drive wheels. And I'm also counting chuffs per revolution. You hear how the chuff is going chuff, 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 chuff? That's because you have 2 engines essentially on this locomotive. So you've got articulated drivers going in and out of sync. I believe it's 2 engines. It's definitely just 2 sets of drivers that are gonna create chuffing more often than 1 chuff per quarter revolution. So, but you know, I think they've got the chuffs right for the revolutions as well, for those people that are wanting to be very specific about that. So there you have it. The Chesapeake and Ohio number 1601 Allegheny steam locomotive. This is a 2-6-6-6 configuration locomotive, and very, very cool. So I think Rivarossi, you know, it's up to you on whether you think they did a good job. I just provide you with the stats and the details. And we'll see you next time right here on the channel. Let's leave you with a run by, maybe with some California Zephyr cars. I don't know where my Chesapeake and Ohio cars are. They are somewhere, maybe not even on site. So we'll go ahead and hook this up and run them with some California Zephyr cars. And we'll see you next time right here on the channel. Take care.